Alright, so I was recently made aware of more globe propaganda. Thank you, Kia. Let's go ahead and get into this thing real quick.
Imagine if you could build a tunnel that sliced through the center of the Earth.
Pause. Just want to take a minute to remind you that every time you've seen the Earth as a globe, it's always been CGI, composite images, or Photoshop. And NASA even admits it. See?
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
I mean, seriously, if you just Google pictures of Earth from space, you're going to see all kinds of pictures where the water's different colors, the continents are different sizes, and different textures and all that. You're going to see pictures where the contrast is adjusted randomly, where they repeat the same pictures with different shading. It's ridiculous. All paid for by the taxpayers to give you CGI bullcrap. Let's move on.
Suddenly,
Pause. Aw, isn't that cute? They put in a little cartoon satellite. You know, because there's supposed to be all these thousands of satellites orbiting around the Earth. But oddly enough, during the NASA live feed, you never see a single satellite. Weird. Also, while gazing upon this brilliant work of animation, you're probably wondering where the moon is. And why would you be wondering that? Well, once upon a time, NASA released what they called an epic video of the moon transiting Earth. But while watching this absolute bullcrap, one would come to the conclusion that if the moon were transiting that close to Earth, that the view of the Earth from the moon should look something like this. But instead we get inconsistent photos like these. Now let's take the one from the middle here with the lunar lander. And what we have here seems to be a little more deception. This is supposed to be a legit picture of the lunar lander with an astronaut descending the ladder onto the lunar surface. Now let's see what happens when you highlight this picture, as has been demonstrated in Photoshop. But you don't really need Photoshop to do this. Check this out. Highlight the whole thing. Oh, what's going on here? Look at that. Looks like some layering's been going on. Got the astronaut, lunar lander, the moon's surface, and then in the background you see a little blue here, you see these straight lines, and oh man, there seems to be this little box around the Earth. What's that about? Looks like more NASA fakery. And they believe it. Anyway,
you travel to opposite ends of our planet with ease.
Pause. More cartoons to deceive you. Did you know that the deepest hole ever dug only went about 8 miles down? That means that this cartoon depicting the crust, mantle, outer core, and inner core of the ball Earth is all speculation. Look up Kola Super Deep Borehole for more information on that.
Simply hop into the tunnel and let gravity whisk you towards your destination.
Ah, yes. And no piece of globe propaganda will be complete without the usage of gravity. For years, it's brainwashed people into believing that anyone saying that they walk around on a flat stationary plane at a 90-degree angle is absolutely insane, and that it's perfectly normal to believe that people are able to walk around living their lives while sticking to the bottom of a spinning ball that has water bending around it. You see, hundreds of years ago, a Jesuit by the name of Isaac Newton was resting underneath a tree. While resting, an apple fell onto his head. Later, he concluded that the apple fell because of a magical force called gravity that's supposedly pulling everything towards the center of mass on this giant ball Earth that we all supposedly live on. Also, he totally disregarded the fact that there were other apples that were still attached to the tree, but yeah, let's just go with it. Now, if old Isaac were being honest, he might have done his due diligence and tested the apple on something a little more dense than air. Maybe, just maybe, something like water. Apple. Water. Oh, look at that. The apple's floating. Weird. Yeah, that's because the apple is less dense than the water. Okay? So that allows the apple to float in the water. Almost as if gravity isn't really what's pulling things down. I think it's just because the apple weighed more than the oxygen that was around it, as demonstrated here. So if something that is more dense than the water and the apple, like say a rock here, the rock falls. Not so much that gravity's pulling it down, it's because it's more dense than the water and the apple. That's why it fell. Let's get back to the cartoon.
Initially, gravity's pull would accelerate you down toward the Earth's center.
Whoa, wait a minute. See anything familiar? Here, let me help you with that. Compass and square Freemason symbology. hidden right there in plain sight.
Yep, what a lot of people don't know is that the world's oldest secret society is closely tied to these so-called spacefaring agencies, and that everyone that you believe or have been told has gone to the moon or space was a Freemason. There's Michael Collins, there's Neil Armstrong, Jim Irwin, and of course there's Buzz Aldrin. Old Buzz is still out there shilling it up. And now it's time for a brief exercise in common sense. Alright, so what you're seeing here is Neil Armstrong apparently taking the first steps on the lunar surface. First man on the moon, right? But wait a minute. Who set up the camera? Alright, so logic dictates that the cameraman was the first person to step foot on the moon. And here's another common sense check for people who can analyze body language. These guys just won a hockey game. Look at how excited they are. These women just won the gold medal for volleyball in the Olympics. See how happy they are? These guys just won the NBA championship again. See all the smiles? And these guys just got back from the moon. Mankind's greatest accomplishment? I don't think so. These are the faces of men who are out keeping a secret, lying to the public because they didn't go to the moon. They're Freemasons and they have to keep secrets because they're part of a club. And as George Carlin says, and now back to the cartoon.
But as you pass through the core, gravity would start to work against you. Here's how long it would take you to reach the other side. First, you must create a vacuum by removing all air out of the tunnel. Otherwise, friction in the form of air resistance will slow you down too much, and air pressure near the center would crush you to death. Next, you'll need to wear a spacesuit, which will protect you against the intense heat at the core.
That's not true. They don't test spacesuits for extreme temperatures. You will come out the other side a pile of ashes.
And supply you oxygen to breathe. After removing the air and suiting up, you could free fall through the vacuum tunnel. Assuming the force of gravity is constant throughout your trip, it would take about 19 minutes for you to reach Earth's center. You would be blazing along at 25,000 miles per hour, or 32 times the speed of sound. But you would feel completely weightless, just like an astronaut in space. As you pass through the core,
10,800 degrees Fahrenheit. I want to see a video where they hit one of these spacesuits with a flamethrower and the spacesuit is all right on the other side. Because that's what they're selling you right now. Okay?
your speed would slow down.
Oh my goodness. So now he's falling up because gravity should be pulling him back towards the center of mass. He's passed through the core. Now he's falling up. You know what? Let me go ahead and fix the rest of this video to accurately depict what they're telling you is real.
But your momentum would continue to propel you upward against gravity. By the time you reach the other end, you would be back to a walking pace.
Yep, back to a walking pace. Upside down on a spinning ball. And this is what people really believe.
In total, the trip would take about 38 minutes. That certainly beats a 40-hour plane ride from Santiago, Chile to Xi'an, China.
Alright, that's all I got for this video. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. As always, be good to each other. Take care of yourself. Stay flat. I'll see you next time. Thank you.